Hi, my name is Paige Wimmer, and for today's lesson, I'm going to be teaching about diversity. Now, since this is an English lesson, my students will be reading and writing and learning. Now, for my essential question for my students, this is on a first grade level, so the lesson isn't really intricate. But for my essential question for my students, it will be, what does being different mean to you? Now, this isn't really a hard question. It's a very simple one. And I kind of want to keep the essential question kind of simple, something for them to ease on into, because when they come into the classroom, it takes a long time for them really to wind down and get serious. So I want to keep the question kind of lighthearted. You know what I mean? So when they come into the classroom, what I want them to do is sit down and answer the essential question. Now, I'm probably going to give them about 4 to 5 minutes to answer this question, not a whole lot of time, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on the question because we have a lot of other things to get to. So, after they answer the question, what I would want to do is pick some students at random to be like, okay, little Johnny, okay, little Susie, what did you put for what being different means to you? And they would answer me back, of course, and then we would discuss that question. Now, once we discussed it, I want to move on to my demonstration. My demonstration involves taking a white egg and a brown egg and asking them what is the differences that they see between the white egg and the brown egg. Now, of course, they're going to give the obvious answer. One's white, one's brown. They're kids. So, what I would then do is crack both eggs open and then ask them again, okay, what is the difference between the eggs? Now, of course, they're not going to be able to tell a difference. So, the moral of this for them is that even though we might look different on the outside, we're all the same on the inside. So, this will then transition in to the story that I'm going to read to the students, which is called The Name Jar. Now, The Name Jar is a story about a little Korean girl who moves to America from Korea. Now, her name is Eunhye, which is very different. It's not the typical name like Susie or Becky or Johnny, but that's the point of it. She's different. So, when she moves to the United States from Korea, she gets made fun of because of her name. Because she's different, it's different. She goes home, she's very sad, but her mother reassures her that her and her grandmother went to a grand master to have Eunhye named, and that her name is very special and important. So when she goes back to school, the kids have created a name jar for Eunhye because they want her to be able to pick out a different name, a name that she will like. And after she goes home and she tells her grandmother about all these things, because her grandmother still is in Korea, her grandmother explains to her that she should be proud of her name and proud of her heritage. And so when she comes back to school, she writes her name on the board. When she does this, the kids ask her what she's doing, and she tells them that Eunhye is her name, and that's the name that she's proud of. So, once again, our story correlates with being different. And what I'm trying to teach the kids is that it's okay for people to be different. Now, after we've read the story, although while I'm reading the story, I would make sure that the kids are understanding, the basic concepts of the story and all the morals, and that they're retaining it all. So after we've done that, I would have them go back to their seats, and I would want them to write in their journals or write on some piece of paper 3 to 5 sentences. I want it like a really good solid paragraph. I wouldn't count out for the spelling or anything like that. What I'm really looking for is the content and the details that they can tell me from what they learned from that story. Now, we're going to go over it again because I know they're going to have questions and I have a hard time remembering every single part of the story. So once that's done, then what I would want them to do is draw me their favorite part from the story. Once again, they're probably going to need a little bit of help remembering this, but I would definitely keep on reinforcing this. Now, the reason that I want them to write and also draw is because I don't really like standardized testing. I don't believe that one thing fits for every single student. So it's sort of tiered for students, so that way if they're struggling with writing the story, they can draw their favorite part of the story. So they're not just stuck with one thing to do. They have options, and this kind of helps them out. And also, I would assess them with this. I would assess them with the rubric on how much detail they put into the story, how much that they could draw, how much they could remember from the story. I mean, of course, I'm going to be helping them, but that's it. Also, what I would have included for the second part of this would be a worksheet. And their worksheet will have about 10 questions on it. And it's questions that I've made up myself. And number 1 is, who is the main character in the story of the name jar? Which is Eunhye. Where is Eunhye from? Which is Korea. What did Eunhye's grandmother give her in the airport? What was inside of it? Which was a little stamp is what she actually gave her to stamp her name in Korean. Now students, I wouldn't expect them to remember all these things, but I would definitely help them with remembering it. So with all these things put together, I think that the students would get a good grasp on what I'm trying to teach them, which is about diversity. So yes, that's my lesson, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye.